Welcome to this whopper of a Women Wednesday. You're watching Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. I'm John Tobacco. Nico, my producer, loves the way I say whoppa. So I try to stick it in there as much as possible. But today is a day of beauty, intelligence, amazement, entertainment. Everything you ever wanted in a Liquid Lunch and more is coming your way today. We have the best women guests on all of television every single day of the week. But on Wednesday, at the executive order of myself, I encourage the staff to try to have as many women as possible and get the women's perspective. And as I've said many times, women, I think, control the financial decisions in 65% of the U.S. households. So that's usually the old saying is the buck stops here. So the women hold the purse strings. They're usually the better decision makers, and their perspectives on many things is quite important. So we do it every single Wednesday, and I'll use another one of my favorites. It will be a fire-breathing dragon of a Women Wednesday as well. Kicking it off today, the Dow is just still middling around right under 27,000. I'm getting a little nervous for it because it can't break through that 27,000 number. But you know, there could be some executive orders by the president in the next week or two on a payroll tax, on school vouchers. All these things will make the markets feel good. And the more you see Joe Biden, the more the markets are probably starting to think, there's no way this guy could beat Donald Trump. In any event, we're going to highlight one of the power women in the many women in leadership spots in the Trump campaign and the Trump administration. Today we're going to look into some stuff with this Kayleigh McEnany, who is just literally slaying it every day. Everywhere I go, they say, who's that new girl? She's awesome. What's her name? Kayleigh? Kayla? All I know is that she has control of that press room like I haven't seen. Sarah Huckabee Sanders was great at it. But Kayleigh is kind of taking a way different, more proactive approach, and we're going to have some stuff on her later on. Now, many times on Liquid Lunch, I have had my dear friend, I'm friends with him almost my whole life, Scott Lebedo. You guys remember I had him on a couple of weeks ago right here when he was the organizer of the Boost the Blue, peaceful pro-NYPD support rally to show the police that they need to help boost the morale of the police. And there was like hundreds of people. They closed down the main street and everybody was there. It was quite an amazing day to at least tell the cops here in a small corner of New York City that we care about them, we love them, and we want them. We don't want to defund the police. We want to refund the police, because right now they're down $1 billion, okay? And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and others say that's not enough. And I got some nice footage that one Kayleigh McEnany had to say about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and defunding the police. But Scott never rests, and you know the artist's hands never toil. And instead of supporting the blue, I think he made a statement that many in New York City agree with the mayor at a 73% disapproval rating. Almost 3/4 of New York City hates him. And Scott crafted this unbelievable piece, which he unveiled yesterday over an overpass on our main highway, the Staten Island Expressway. And that, of course, is our mayor, Warren Wilhelm, with Che Guevara shirt on. You know, he's a big supporter of the Sandinistas and the Nicaraguans and the Cubans and, Fidel Castro. These are his heroes. And he's got the bloody head of the Statue of Liberty in his hand. And I think it says de Blasio is killing our liberty. I'll leave it there. We'll take a quick break, come back with more Liquid Lunch in just 1 minute. All right, welcome back. Keep my eye on the market here. The Dow is just down 30 and not doing anything amazing. Oh, just popped up 50, little movement, 26.8, not above that 27,000 resistance level that's developing there. And Bitcoin doing kind of good, 93.50, down $20, but Joe Hagan will be joining us a little later in hour one, talking about the big data economy and cryptocurrency and how you should think about putting a little bit of that in your portfolio. Lots going on. I'm putting a little bit of this in my portfolio for this Woman Wednesday. Jess's mom, Mesa, made this beautiful mint lemonade, right, Jess? This is a fresh mint lemonade that she made, and it's delicious and nutritious. It has ground up mint in it, and I'm coupling that, doing a pairing today with the organic Panzoni vodka. So we'll see how good this is in a little bit, but it's going to get way better for you right now because I'm joined by my good friend Erin Elmore. Well, I'll be joined by my good friend Erin Elmore any minute now, but try a mint lemonade and Panzoni. So good. It's like the breakfast of champions. Xen Sams is going to join us right after this. It's a power duo back-to-back. Gail Kasper, motivational speaker and author, is going to join us a little later, an hour or two. And then when you get the guys on Women Wednesday, the money guys, you got to fit them in somewhere, and Hagan's going to be the closer. Joey Hagan will be here to talk to us about the big data economy and all his calls on the market. I do want to point out to you that I'm keeping my eye every single day. I'm a shareholder in Overstock.com. I've been talking to you now for weeks. Almost a new high, $55. Still on a tear here. We're on a tear when Erin Elmore joins us. We don't know where in the world she is, but she's safe. Thank you for joining us. She's the head of USA Strong. She's attorney, political analyst, conservative commentator. Hello, Erin.
How are you?
You still in Florida, I assume?
I am still in Florida, sunny Florida.
That's it. I have a feeling you may never come back.
Well, I have to go to D.C. next week because I am speaking at a conference, but if I had my way, I would stay here.
Yeah, it looks that way. And if you don't follow Erin on Instagram, you should. Her adventures are quite fun. If you can't be there, you can vicariously travel the East Coast with her. Erin, I know USA Strong is not a political organization. It's a nonprofit committed to, bringing jobs and manufacturing and other things back to America and taking strength away from China. There's this whole thing developing with these Confucius institutes, and they're getting money, and they're kind of contributing to the corrosion of the education system.
That's absolutely right. And you know what? Dennis Prager, who's a wonderful and educated man, he said, when you send your children to college, it's like playing Russian roulette with your values. And I hate to tell you, this goes down all the way to kindergarten. Well, let's start with the Confucius Institutes that you mentioned first. Yes, these are institutes that basically give massive amounts of money in the hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to colleges all across the country. And what they're doing is they're buying influence and spying. So they'll come to any college. By the way, they're in 44 states and over 110 colleges. They send professors over. They're in charge of curriculums. And you think they're just going to come over and adapt to the American culture, where they really just want to destroy our culture and spy on our government. So they're really dangerous. The only silver lining about this is senators like Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee are hip to the game, and she's starting to have some schools in her state stop allowing them. I know Middle Tennessee University is one of them. So this is something really for parents that are sending their children to college to be aware of. And it's a major problem because not only is it spying, as we know, when we send our kids to college now, they're already being fed such liberal propaganda. So we got the spying, but now also it's sending them favorable information on China, which, as we know, is a communist dictatorship full of racism and hatred and an absolute despising of the United States.
So these Confucius institutes, they give them a lot of access, all these universities that take this blood money. You say they're in 44 states and 110 colleges. Over at USA Strong, do you guys have a list where people can look and see what colleges are in this? Is there some database that people can inform themselves?
What I can do is I can put that up on some of my various social media and let you know exactly which states and which colleges, but it's definitely a problem. And taking it a step further, as I mentioned, down to kindergarten, the College Board, which puts on the SATs, they're also in bed with China. So what they're doing is they're having these programs with China, bringing Chinese professors over for children as young as 5 letting them bring their communist textbooks and bringing that into classrooms for children. On that SAT college level, they also have Chinese centers here in the United States and abroad where these tests are being administered, but the college boards are just sort of sliding them old tests. And in some cases, there are accusations that they've been given answer keys to the SATs. So these problems are very pervasive. And sadly, we're seeing that this money is talking, but to what end? As you called it, blood money.
Yeah, I mean, they've done so many things over the years. I mean, ripping off our intellectual property, ripping off our pharmaceuticals, selling us bum products, selling us poisoned gypsum, sheetrock. I mean, they've done everything they can. The last time you were on, we were talking about TikTok. That's another way they're getting inside our kids' phones. And then once that phone gets in the house, they actually can get into your house and your email if they really want to get some info. But it seems like these Confucius Institutes are getting them a whole dossier on these kids, as early as high school when they start preparing for the SAT.
Right, down to kindergarten, because they're allowing these people to come over and serve as kindergarten, first grade, fifth grade, and so on, teachers. And they bring these textbooks that are sanctioned and authored by the Chinese Communist Party. Children, and the parents probably initially think, wow, exposing my child to another culture and another language. But when you peel back the layers of the onion, it's very terrifying.
Yeah, I'd rather my kids were exposed to some regular, good old-fashioned American history, which is barely taught in the schools anymore, before they start, teaching them Mandarin in kindergarten. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And we've seen China has this scholars program that was being overseen by this professor from Harvard who got arrested a couple of months ago. And the scholars program, they bring over these other supposed scholars and adjunct professors from China. Sure. And it turns out one after the next is really a Chinese, intelligence agent. And they're infiltrating our country every way, right down to the Huawei 5G that's getting put in all our rural areas in this country.
I know. I believe the Great Britain just banned them as part of their 5G and their products because it is so dangerous. And you know what we spoke about last time, not to take a hard left on you here, we talk about what else the Chinese government is doing wrong. Our apple juice is made over in China. They can pollute that in all of our pharmaceuticals. So we really need to get the manufacturing brought to the United States of all of these products and services.
Well, today I'm drinking lemonade, so I'm not in fear of the apple juice being poisoned right today.
Coffee.
Jess, one of our producers' mom made some fresh mint lemonade, and it's delicious. Ooh. But yeah, exactly. I mean, we haven't had a liquid lunch together, and it seems like a lifetime at this point.
Let's shoot for September. I don't care what de Blasio says. We're going in that New York studio. You and I will make good-looking mugshots. You know what else I was going to ask you about?
Tell me.
How about our friend who should shut up and dribble, LeBron James? All of his sneakers that are made over in China by basically slaves. He's a slave to the Chinese Communist Party, and he's worried about what's happening in America among African Americans. What about all of these people who are currently enslaved in China right now?
Yeah, it's strange, right? That they have, kind of looked the other way on. They're fighting here about the injustice of slavery that still extends till today. But at the same time, their multi-million, $100 million contract with Nike calls for people to work 20 hours a day for 10 cents a week or something. They're basically slaves to the communist regime.
These people are the Uyghurs, and they're Muslim minorities, and they actually are in internment concentration camps. I mean, I don't even think they're getting a wage at all. These people are literally enslaved, and that's something you don't often hear about in the mainstream media. These are modern-day concentration camps. It's plain and simple.
Yeah, on the Uyghur front, I saw some video last night that was disturbing, that they were, had them all corralled up with like jackets on, and they were shoving them on trains. It looked like some videos from the Holocaust times.
I know, and then when you got, I believe someone over in Great Britain was interviewing a member of the Chinese government, and they said, I don't know what you're talking about or where you got this video.
Yeah, I saw the guy on the BBC, the Chinese ambassador or whatever, saying, I don't know where that video came from. Well, it came from a drone above 1,000 Uyghurs that were probably going to get incinerated.
And the threat of China is so real and so pervasive that the Democrats really need to get on board. This is a nonpartisan and bipartisan concern. Because of what happened with the coronavirus. The Pew Institute had research that came out that said 91% of Americans have an unfavorable attitude towards China right now. That doesn't come from nowhere.
All right. Well, we need you to keep ringing this bell, and we're here for you anytime. And you're on. For September. All right. Bing.
Yes.
That's Erin Elmore, head of USA Strong. Check them out on Instagram, Facebook, and find out if your kid's college is getting money from China. We'll take a quick break. Come back with Xen Sams right after this.
For more Liquid Lunch, head over to YouTube, do a search for Liquid Lunch TV, and hit that subscribe button.
All right, welcome back. Just kicking it through a Wicked Woman Wednesday. Erin Elmore is a great friend of ours. She hasn't been back to Northeast since like March, I think. She's hibernating down in Florida. And this one here, Xen Sams, has been with us almost from day one. She fled to Canada for a little while. She has a dual passport, so they let her back in. But she is back in the Big Apple, thankfully. And she's an actress, model, super mom, all that great stuff, TV producer, you name it, she does it. And Xen, there's a lot going on, with the tear gas and the fighting. They're saying Trump is sending in, unmarked soldiers now in Portland and pulling people off the street and rent-a-cars. What the heck is going on? Give us a little woman Xen on it.
Oh my goodness, Portland is really kind of guns blazing. People are really want to be vocal. They're just at it nonstop. And Portland is kind of one of those specialty situations because they've made headline news often, specifically in the nudity category. So a woman wearing nothing but literally a black face mask and a stocking cap, she literally walked towards a dozen heavily armed agents attired in camouflage getup. So, you have to picture this. It's pretty frightening. And this is downtown Portland Street, right? So the cops are lined up. This woman shows up completely naked and mainly claimed that people claimed that she emerged from what seemed like an apparition from clouds of tear gas. All the while, federal agents were literally firing pepper balls at angry protesters. This was last Saturday evening. Ouch. So numerous photos and videos posted on Twitter showed this unidentified woman as she halted in the middle of the street at about 1:45 in the morning. She was very calm. She was a surreal image of basically human vulnerability in the face of an empowering force that has been criticized nationally by civil rights advocates. So before it was over, she struck ballet poses and reclined on the street. She also sat on the asphalt in a yoga-like position facing officers before they just walked away from her. Now, courts have held that appearing nude in Portland is a protected form of political expression, superseding bans on public indecency. So that's how strong they feel about, Portland, that nudity is a protected form of political expression. So the woman making her statement Saturday was altogether uninhibited. And at one point, she was standing on one leg, raising her arm in an arc-type motion. So she was very non-threatening is what, the overall sentiment is. And patrol cars were just driving by her and, uniformed cops back and forth, and nobody bothered her. She remained unharmed and untouched. So that's something to really, that's interesting to think about. Now, she was vulnerable. She was completely naked. And at one point, I'm describing the scene because I want you to visualize what was transpiring.
No, I don't have to visualize it. We have a photo, I believe, that Nico's putting up. And
that's right.
I'm hoping we don't have the other angle of the front, because that would probably get us kicked off television.
Light spread in the headlights glare kind of thing is really vulnerable. Now, in 2008, what's interesting is a judge in one of Portland's counties cleared a nude bicyclist of indecent exposure charges, saying that cycling naked became a well-established tradition in Portland as a form of symbolic protest. So,
really?
Yeah.
These Oregonians are wild ones, eh?
Yeah. And in all, the woman's appearance lasted about 15 minutes, and news photographers said she slipped away uninjured into the crowd. But nudity has also served as a form of protest since at least the 11th century, when legend holds that Lady Godiva rode naked, veiled only by her long hair, in a horse through Coventry, England, to protest oppressive taxation. So, you know, on Twitter, they were quick to conclude that the naked Athena caused the officers to turn their tail. And then you have the right-wing nationalist review website that they gave its own spin, saying that she was an Antifa sociopath who lost her mind and she was stripped naked to protest the Port Police.
Yeah, I'm with the second one.
Yeah. Well,
I'm down with the second one.
You spin it.
You know, I don't know. It doesn't look comfortable where she's sitting.
No.
Like, it doesn't look like her bottom half is well protected. It's got to be.
No.
That's got to be a little tough to be on the blacktop with a bare butt.
My question to you, John, is if that was a man who did this, who strode in the middle of the street completely naked, do you think he would have gotten away with it?
There's so many things I want to say right now, but yeah, the odds are a man would have got away with it. I would say yes. But I would also say I don't know why a man would do. I don't know why a woman would do such a. It just does the whole thing of it doesn't really make any sense to me. I mean, what's the statement? I'm vulnerable and you can kill me or let me sit here. I don't get it personally. You're much more of an artiste than I am, but I don't know what it means.
You know what? You're right. A lot of people share the same sentiment. Like, what is happening? That's such a non sequitur. Like, what is she doing? She's trying to take away from the protests that the underlying, sentiment is Black Lives Matter. And all of a sudden you have this, woman slipping in and out of a crowd of protesters completely naked, trying to make a statement. My whole thing is the response to the naked body. It was very interesting the way that this was perceived.
I think everyone, apparently, according to your reporting, no one even cared. Everyone just kind of ignored it. It was just like there.
She was there and made headlines, but I mean, she wasn't, look, people definitely weren't trying to hurt her. So I think her sentiment was, I walked through the most dangerous part of town in the height of a riot and protest, unarmed, naked, no weapons in my hand, uninhibited, bearing no ill will, and I didn't emerge with a single scratch. And that message, that way of really seeing this position, showed that if people tried to channel their vulnerable side, we would be much less aggressive as a society.
Oh, come on. Don't start. Yeah. Don't, you're usually so fair. You're going to start going down that snowflake route now. We don't need to channel our vulnerable side. Leave the cops alone. Go to work, go to school, you wear a mask, and everybody's good. And we don't need these naked demonstrations. I would imagine with all the niceness that you slathered on top of the whole thing, I would imagine that her parents are not quite so proud, as a dad of two girls.
No, we don't know who she is. So we can just assume that it was a form of art.
All right. And also chalk it up to not her proudest moment in life, maybe. Yeah, but maybe she is proud. Who knows? The good thing is every week you come here and bring us the best stories. Today, you even sent in an almost naked photo, which is salacious, and that's ratings right there. So I had to go with the story, but you're the best. Thank you for helping us out every week. You're the bomb.
Welcome, my darling. I will see you Friday.
Xen Sams, model, actress, supermom, and giving us her woman's perspective on, I guess, female performance art during a quarantine in the middle of a riot, we'll call it. Who knows? I don't know. And then you want to know why I'm drinking lemonade and vodka. We're going to take a quick break. Come back right after this with Gail Kasper. Welcome back, folks. I've been taking my makeup off every day with the coronavirus wipes.
How's it working?
I'm still corona free.
Didn't even wipe your fake tan off.
Well, that's because that's not a fake tan. That's a real tan. All right, welcome back. Just breezing through this first hour here on a wicked edition of the Liquid Lunch Women Wednesday program. As I mentioned earlier, we have women on every single day, and the haters always message me and say, "How do you have a show called Women Wednesday?" No, it doesn't mean there aren't women on other day. On Wednesday, we try to focus on getting a predominant amount of the women's perspective on things. Women in business, women in politics, women in philanthropy, women in the arts. We cover it all, okay? And we have a new participant today. Gail Kasper joins us right now, and she's like the total package. I mean, motivational speaker, author, producer, life, business, fitness expert. And Gail, thank you so much for joining us for the first time. Me personally, I need almost everything. I'm a decent writer, so I'm not going to need your help on the author side, but I need your help on all the others right off the bat. So I'm here for you, but thanks for joining us.
Well, tell me what's going on, John. What's going on?
Oh my God. You know, I would have to channel all my personalities and put them on the table right now to give you the full picture.
I'm listening. I'm listening.
She wants it all.
Bring it on.
Sometimes the network wants me to behave like a regular newsman, and I am John Cronkite, bringing you the news, brought to you by Gail Kasper today. No, I'm kidding, but hey, Gail, we have some fun. The show's called Liquid Lunch. You know, we have a cocktail or two. We look at the lighter side of some things, but
I don't know that my thoughts will be clear if I have the cocktail, but
okay, fine. So I'll have two, so you can
please,
stay focused on this segment. But I know, you know, you cover a lot of things with your expertise in life, and, you know, some people are good at business, which takes them out for later nights and dinners that they shouldn't be eating and more drinking than they should, and it's hard to have a fit business person because, you know, unless you're really committed, you're kind of either fat and bald or in shape and poor, you know, for the most part. But the Gen Z class, it seems, a predominant amount of them, are enjoying another participation trophy during the quarantine because this extra stimulus unemployment money has people unemployed but being paid so much. I'm hearing from small business owners all across the country saying they can't hire their people back because they're making more than they would if they came back to work. How crazy is this?
it's insane. It's insane. And there are people that are doing that right now. They're enjoying their time off, but that time off is going to eventually come to an end. And that's where they want to be prepared. And really, like, when I stop and think about the fact that we can be getting educated during this time. So yes, you might be home, you might be enjoying that time, but you can take 90 minutes a day and find some online classes that you actually want to take. That's a positive. Like, so make the most of the time while you're home. There are so many unemployed and so many businesses that are looking for people right now. It is a great time for those of you that are thinking outside the box and trying to get into something new. So there are people that are looking for work right now. Now's the time to bring those skill sets to the table and approach some people.
So on the motivational and business fitness expert side, what are some tips for people who are unemployed and they want to go back to work, but they're like kind of stuck in this malaise that, like, I'm getting my check, my life stinks, and you know what I mean? What are some tips to get people moving and back on their feet?
And I always refer to, one of the things I have is the systematic attitude development technique, which is about being logical versus emotional. And if we're stuck inside, or we're crammed inside, or we're not making the most of who we are, we start to get depressed and feel bad about ourselves. So the very first thing that we want to do is establish that plan. And one of the things that I just mentioned to you is education. What are you doing to get educated? And I think of past, present, and future. So past being, what are the skill sets you have in place? What did you do? Customer service, leadership, sales, what was it? What are the skill sets presently that are really, really important? Everything today, John, you know, is going online. Is it web development? Is it mobile app development? What is it? You can Google online free courses and find some courses that you actually want to take. So even if you're home and you're like, hey, I'm having a great time at home, what do you want to be taking? There are courses out there that can actually get you onto a brand new track. And future is put it into play. 90 minutes a day, get educated.
I like that. You know, I myself have been creating another personality, Juan, and I've been using the Babbel courses and trying to learn Spanish so I can talk to myself in Spanish, like ¿Cómo está usted? Is that good? Like learning like that?
I love it. I love it. Learning another language is always a positive. And you say, is this an alter ego of yours? Where are we going with this, John?
Well, I don't know if you heard, but Trader Joe's has this brand of like Mexican foods, and it's called Trader Jose's. And that was canceled yesterday. There was a petition that they don't want them mocking Latin American people. So the brand of Trader Joe, Trader Jose, is gone. So I'm thinking about if I learn Spanish, then I could start the Trader Juan brand of the Trader Joe's.
I think we need to look at the end goal with that. Is that really going to take you to where you want to go?
There she got, now you got it. University of Chicago economist estimates that 2/3 of the workers on unemployment insurance right now are making 2 to 3 times more money than when they worked. Where's the incentive to get back to work when you're getting paid double?
Well, you and I both know that that's going to run dry and short, and that's short-term thinking. And unfortunately, in today's environment, we have a lot of short-term thinking. It's like if you're in sales and you're just thinking about what you need to do this minute versus what's going to be happening toward the end of the month or next month. This is why you're here right now, because we want to get people thinking to be proactive. Even if you take courses, that takes time. So get yourself in a groove of what are you going to be doing? What's new? What's creative? What's innovative? If you go back, you have an opportunity to make more money because you are now going to be bringing new skill sets to the table. So stop limiting where you are and start thinking about what you're capable of doing.
Let me ask you this. I subscribe to this, you know, the laws of attraction, the power of the universe, putting positive thoughts out there and visualizing. The other thing I think maybe some of these younger folks, they look at some things like really short-sighted and they don't understand that, you know, although you may be making double now, you're only going to make that for 3 more months. And then if you can't get that job for 50 grand, then you're going to be making 0 for maybe another year if you can't find the skill set. So net, if they take a longer view at some of this stuff and say, all right, well, if I get a great job tomorrow and I work hard, Warren Buffett says 80% of the most successful people in the world, 80% of them did one thing right, showed up every day. And I kind of put that together with like a little, you know, truism my father used to say to me that, you know, you don't really care about anything until you buy it with your own money. So, you know, this is all kind of artificial money and it's like free stuff and you don't really stick to it because you feel like, yeah, I'm getting it for free. Why should I go back to work? I'm doing good. Should younger people and even older people kind of take a longer positive view on some of this stuff?
Yeah, you know what, they need to, but I would have to say now more than ever, especially if you see a friend or a family member in that groove, now more than ever, it's time to be that mentor, to be that leader, to support them in some way, because it is short term. It's not long term for them. And we don't want them to be stuck in a place that they are doing nothing. This is an incredible gift that we've been given. If you can take that time to figure out where you want to be in life, because so many people out there are not doing what they really want to be doing. They're just working. So if you can stop and say to yourself, what do I really want?
Yep.
You have been given a gift of money to be paid to then learn what you want to do.
Yep.
So let's try to appeal to their wants and, you know, where they see their future as a possibility.
In our final minute here, a lot of people, like you said, they're just working. They're not actually doing what they love to do. And a mentor of mine told me years ago, and I used to see him only a couple of times a year, and I'd say, hey, how can I do better? I want to do this, that, or the other thing. And then he would tell me something, and then when I would see him a year later or so, I would say, hey, what else can I do? And he would say, well, what'd you do with that? And I would tell him, well, I tried it or this, that. After about 10 years of knowing him, he said, let me give you a trick because people are going to start asking you for tips and mentoring. And always, if they come back to you a second time, always ask them what they did with your first advice, because most people get stuck in their own mud and they don't even take your first advice and then they want to come back and take more of your time. Should people just at this time take a crack at it and live in the now? Even if you fail, it's better than doing nothing.
Well, and that's obvious, John. That's definite. You know, I support that 1,000%. Take the risk. You know, throw yourself into it. Give it a shot. And as far as, you know, people not taking first advice, very often people learn through repetition. So that means that, yeah, they may not hear you the first time. They're going to hear it when they're ready to hear it. So if we need to repeat ourselves, if we need to be patient with others, then be that way. We can't expect more from others and expect them to, I guess, rise above if they're not capable of hearing at a certain moment.
Fantastic.
So, gracious.
Gail, you're fantastic. I'm going to need some private tutoring from you because I have a potpourri of issues that we probably have to deal with, but hopefully we'll have you back on very soon.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time. It's great to see you.
Great to see you too. That's Gail Kasper. Joe Hagan's going to join us to talk about big data right after this. All right, welcome back. You're watching Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. I'm John Tobacco. We're just wrapping up hour one here of a Wicked Woman Wednesday show. We've had some really tremendous women's perspective today. Kicked it off with Erin Elmore. She's the head of USA Strong, then Xen Sams, model, actress, then activist, and talking to us about the power of the naked body and how it's coming into these protests at times. It's just absolutely crazy. And Gail Kasper trying to give you some tips on how to get back on your feet after the COVID crisis and get off unemployment and start earning some money again. I don't know if you guys know, but way back when there was the Occupy Wall Street protests going on, my brother Derek and I organized a counter protest called the Occupy a Desk, Get a Job protest. And we had some great success. We actually contributed to them clearing out the park, and I'm glad that somebody in the NYPD cleared out the Occupy City Hall. But this COVID thing keeps continuing to get crazy, and there are a lot of sources out there. You see the president arguing with Chris Wallace on Fox News Sunday about which graph he was using, which source, Johns Hopkins. Every week we talk about big data. We talk about how you can get involved in the big data economy, and my buddy Joe Hagan joins us to give you some insights from his 30-plus years on Wall Street. Joe's the CEO of Wealth Colony, and Joe, apparently you have a little tip here for everybody to learn how to search a COVID-19 database with live interactive dashboards and track shutdown scenarios and all this other stuff. What's this about?
Yeah, so thanks. It's always a tough act to follow such beautiful, smart women on a Wednesday. So I'm trying to come up with something a little special. And there's a way for you to search COVID-19 data. You can go to explore a live interactive dashboard. Very cool stuff. You can even build your own forecasting models on different shutdown scenarios in the world. Say, like, I only do business in Lebanon, Ireland, and Guyana. So you can literally create forecasts for your business that way, or just for your life. And it's what I'm really looking at to be the next data dog, and that is a company called ThoughtSpot. ThoughtSpot is Google alumni that started the company in 2012. Their competitor was already bought out. Remember, before the IPO, Datadog got offered to be bought out. They said no, and they've been taken off since, from $8 billion to $30 billion. I think it's still worth $50 billion. But ThoughtSpot, we're waiting on an IPO. There's only a few investors. They put about $248 million into it at just under a $2 billion market cap. So I'd love to see that opportunity for an IPO in the coming months. But it's really cool to go to their website and play around with the data. So
you want to give us that website again, Joe, that people can find?
It's just go to thoughtspot.com.
ThoughtSpot. Thought, THOUGHT spot.com.
Yeah.
ThoughtSpot.
Yeah. I mean, they you want to look at how big data is merging with artificial intelligence. I was reading an article, a company called Suncor Group basically just came out and said that they had a whole team of staff that with these claims reports in the insurance world, it took them 2 weeks to come up with these reports, to be ready for these insurance claims. When you use ThoughtSpot, they could do that in less than 10 minutes from 2 weeks with the whole staff. So that's kind of a real world application out there. The data that they get from Johns Hopkins is what they use, and that's their disclaimer. But it's really cool to see to use their dashboard and see what you could do with COVID-19, what's going on in the world, and how they really merge, artificial intelligence with search.
So, Joey, now for months, I'll do the regular disclaimer. Both Joe and I are significant shareholders in InvestView. InvestView has a division of the company called Apex that's engaged in a leaseback model where you can invest in the cryptocurrency mining economy. And many of you inquired, many of you bought Apex models through Joe and InvestView. There's a new product that InvestView has out now. I'll remind you, this isn't a solicitation. I am not a financial advisor, but the Apex special buy 3, get 1 free ended on July 15th. And now there's a new program for people looking for passive income. It's a liquid stock. It's eligible for IRA also. Tell us about the preferred opportunity.
Yes, it was actually June 30th, and it was buy 4, get 1 free. But that has ceased to exist. And they'll come out with a new program, I'm sure. But in the meantime, the company is preparing for a major institutional deal, and we're just acting as information providers. We're not advisors, but we show people, and we can certainly show you how the deal works, how you could subscribe for it. I have people that can put in you can put in a few $100s, or you can put in a few $1,000s, or you can put in $1 million, whatever your comfort level is. If it makes sense to you, you go do it without the middleman. You're not paying the commissions. And at the end of the day, you're getting a 13% return, but you're also getting an equity kicker that can mean another 10, 20, 50%, or more return. So the interesting thing is, for the dividend interest, it is in an escrow account for the next 3 years. So that really mitigates a lot of risk in making sure you get the 13% return. And they pay this dividend, monthly. So in 1 quarter, you can earn more in interest than you would in a bank for a year or two. So it's a great deal.
So you buy a new class of stock in InvestView, and
Correct.
This is just informational.
It's a
preferred class, which gives you actually a little bit of a higher standing in a black swan situation because it's a preferred. And your dividend is 13% annually, accrued monthly, paid quarterly. So, but 10 grand, you pick up 1,300 a year, to be simple, right?
Yeah, pretty much 1350, I think it is, to be exact.
Yeah. All right.
So it's more return, but it also allows you to get an additional equity kicker, if you will, to be able to buy some cheap stock if you get the upside in the common stock as well.
Right.
If this thing takes off like another mini Datadog, et cetera.
Got it. So unlike Apex, where you put in the money and you had 5 years worth of return, in this one, you can get a few months or 6 months or a year and say, hey, I want my money back. You can just go to the market and sell it, and there's always market liquidity there.
Yep, up to you. You can sell it whenever you want. You could say, you know what, I'm going to take my 1 quarter worth of interest and take my money and run, take my ball and go home.
Got it.
You sit with the stock if you want the upside as well, or you just continue to take the 13% return. Great. Because there's really nothing else out there paying you 13%.
All right. Thank you, Joey. Joey Hagan, CEO of Wealth Colony, Marist alum. Quick break. Come back with hour 2 right after this. I was just saying this to Jess, my producer, but it's actually the open to this segment. Blah, 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 blah. That's what I hear every time the president's press secretary comes out to try to talk to the reporters and keep them informed on what's happening. From them, I hear blah, 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 blah. Same crap over and over and over again. And, if he doesn't come out and send his press secretary out there and give the people information, they say, well, Donald Trump's press secretary hasn't come out in 14 days, or they must be hiding something. Then when she comes out every day, what do? It's a gotcha moment. And if one guy don't get you, then the next girl gets you. And somebody's everything's about a gotcha. And a lot of press secretaries, Anthony Scaramucci, one of the biggest losers around, melted down after 10 days as press secretary. He couldn't handle it. Sarah Huckabee Sanders stood up well, but she was under fire for a while, okay? And then, lo and behold, here comes this young, brilliant attorney, attractive, intelligent, everything you would want, Kayleigh McEnany, and you say, oh man, these reporters are gonna eat this chick up. And you know what? Every single day she gets out there, or every time he sends her out there, and she literally drops the mic. And then there's been an article lately that some reporter called her a B blank blank CH. It's no wonder, because she's slaying them every single day. And in honor of Women Wednesday, in honor of someone who's really sticking up for the president from her heart, okay, they're trying to gotcha the president on, well, there were armed men in camouflage who got out of rented minivans and they were kidnapping people off the streets. Where does the president find his authority to send in? Okay. Cue Kayleigh McEnany against one loser of a left-wing reporter.
Constitution, does the president derive the authority to send federal law enforcement officers to the streets of American cities against the will of the elected officials in those cities?
Yes, well, what you're referring to is Portland, and 40 U.S. Code 1315 gives DHS the ability to deputize officers in any department or agency, like ICE, Custom and Border Patrol, and Secret Service, quote, as officers and agents. They can be deputized for the duty of, in connection with the protection of property owned or occupied by the federal government and persons on that property. And when a federal courthouse is being lit on fire, commercial fireworks being shot at it, being shot at the officers, I think that that falls pretty well within the limits of 40 U.S. Code 1315.
Now, when I was younger, sometimes, my brother Derek is a little younger than me, if I really wanted to insult him, I'd go like this. Lick my fingers and give him a whap in the forehead, like that. So she just gave him that. She did a little lick and a smack, but he did not give up. He came back again.
Does he see limitations to that power? How far does that power extend into the streets of the city of Portland? What are there limitations on that?
So under
that authority to protect a federal property.
Under the law, we believe that agents can conduct investigations of crimes committed against federal property or federal officers. And in the case where you have someone shooting off a commercial-grade firework and then running across the street, we don't believe that that extends past our jurisdiction.
Believe that extends outside our jurisdiction. Now, the last time I licked my four fingers and gave you a head bap, okay? Now I'm going to give you a little four-finger cheek slap because you're still getting wise. And then later on, you know what? Some other reporter tries to come to her rescue, and she drops the mic on all of them. Great work, Kayleigh McEnany, and she just cites it right from the law book. They're attacking a federal courthouse, which is federal property, and the president can send in whoever the H-E double hockey sticks he wishes. Quick break, more Liquid Lunch right after this. The great thing for you is that we're joined right now by Maggie Vanderberg, my dear friend, also known as Fog City Midge, social media influencer extraordinaire, conservative filmmaker, and great friend of Liquid Lunch. Midge, I don't have to go to the hair salon that much, me personally, because I have very little to work with here. But apparently out where you are, in Cali, hairdressers and nail salons are, that's verklempt. Nothing's happening there right now.
Yeah, John, it's been crazy out here in California. So as you know, we were all set to reopen a couple weeks ago, and then things started to change, and our crazy governor sent us back into shutdown. So many businesses were just waiting on pins and needles to reopen their doors, and we're totally prepared to do so. And then when they got that call, hey, guess what? You're not going to be reopening, or maybe they had just reopened the day prior and now they were supposed to shut down again within 24 hours. A lot of businesses are devastated, but so many consumers as well have just been eagerly awaiting a time when they can get their hair cut, when they can go back to feeling normal, just getting back to normal life. And so many hair salons and now nail salons here are operating illegally, behind closed doors, after hours. They are running their operations in a way that feels like communism to me. It's really funny.
Oh, listen, I'm gonna tell you something that's so germane to this topic. So in New York, we were facing the same thing. Salons were closed. You can't get a haircut. You can't get your nails done, right? So I came up with this ingenious idea to have a protest at my house. And we were protesting the closing of salons. And then I invited all different salon owners, haircutters, massage therapists, nail salon, manicure, pedicure. And I turned my whole grounds of my property into one big outdoor hair salon, right? And I'm telling you, we were doing 100 haircuts on a Saturday. We had massages, pedicures, manicures. Everything was going. And what I did was, I said, work out a deal with the person, and you guys Venmo, pay cash, whatever you want. But anybody who gets a service, $10 goes in the pot to a charity. So I made it a charitable event. So if you cut a deal with the barber for a $30 haircut, you gave him a little tip, and then everybody threw $10 in the ice container, and whatever money we were left at the end of the day, we gave a different charity every day, right? And it was going for 3 weeks strong. And some neighbors, some liberal freaks that live in my neighborhood called the Department of Buildings on me and said that we were running an illegal commercial establishment out of my home. And there was no commerce. I was putting out beers and food. It was costing me money, but it was like a good thing for society. And the haters are just so bad right now. Even when you try to do something good, we gave $2,000 the first week to kids with cancer. From the haircuts, and they're still hating. They want businesses to die, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm living in 1984, where, leftists want to close down people's ability to earn a living, people's businesses, people's ability to congregate and have fun. It's crazy to me that we can have protesters out there in the tens of thousands, but if a small group wants to get together and have a prayer session at their house, the neighbors are calling the cops on them. How dare they have 10 people in their home at one time? And this is what's becoming just so insane. It's not just the tyranny from our government, but the fear of your neighbors, that they're going to call you, that they're going to try to shut down this positive thing that you're doing, for charity, and also just so people can have somewhere to go, be around other human beings, do something normal. As you were telling your story, John, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, that would never happen in California, because there would be some leftists sitting there waiting to call the cops on you. If they saw a group of cars in front of a home thinking maybe they're having a party, maybe they're doing something fun, I'm going to call the police. And this is the world that we live in right now. And it's very scary to see the divide.
Yeah, well, I could tell you that happened early on. People called the regular police, and the police came by, like, what's happening? I'm like, I don't know. I got 25 people in my yard right now. We got lines drawn, everybody's distanced. My mom lives next door, so we could actually have another 25 there. We're under the limit. And the cops were like, all right, don't worry about it. So they went to the next level and went to the Department of Buildings and said, I'm running, a commercial establishment. The Salon by the Sea was what we called it. But I don't want to get caught up in that, because I want to get your take on this Kanye stuff. It's bizarre, but I also feel like I want him to hang in there, because I know that young African American and minority kids are probably going to vote him, and those are all votes that would go to Joe Biden.
Yeah, I think that might be kind of the greater plan here of what's happening. It's funny because, Kanye West announced that he's running for president. Obviously, he's not a serious candidate, because he's not going to be on many ballots in many states. So, this whole thing is just sort of a publicity stunt. But I have to say, I watched the entire live stream of his first campaign event and it was a mess. Oh my goodness. I couldn't believe that they had such poor audio and video quality. For someone of Kanye West level, you would think he would hire the best in the business to make sure that it, technically it went off without a hitch, but it didn't. The audio was cutting in and out the whole time. He wasn't mic'd up. You could hardly hear him. And, he went on these sort of these long emotional rants. So that's sort of the downside of whatever was going on with Kanye. But the positive thing is he's standing up there and he's talking about things that are not normally spoken about in the Black community, spoken about by politicians. He's up there talking about the emotional impact of abortion and what it does to families and communities. He's talking about crime. He had everybody up there saying, we don't have a gun problem. We have like a crime problem, a sin problem. And he had the whole audience say with him, guns don't kill people, people kill people.
Wow, all right. These are right-wing talking points he's doing. I like it. I hope he keeps it. I hope he keeps it together. I just want to point this out that while you're on here talking about the hair and nail salons that are closed or operating illegally, your hair looks magnificent today. It looks quite done. So you must have found one of these undercover operations that are taking care of you. But Midge, thanks for always joining us. You're the best. And you out there, check out Fog City Midge on social media. She's the best in the business, if you ask me. Thanks Midge.
John. Always a delight.
You are the bomb. Thank you. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with some news of the day with just JT and a full jug of fresh mint lemonade and panzoni right after this.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Now, in an effort to find new voters, Joe Biden, who has yet to have a full press conference, he's a presidential candidate 3 months out from the election. He's yet to have a press conference where he stood in front of a bunch of members of the press and answered questions without a teleprompter. They actually send him out for a press conference, and then the press conference means open season. Donald Trump does it all the time. He goes out there and he's like, come on, bring it. What do you got? And he doesn't have notes and teleprompters. He just goes for it because the guy's sane and he's powerful and he knows, he's got a grasp on what he's talking about. Joe Biden is deranged. The guy's like demented. And he's like bordering on senility if you watch his body language. I read books on body language, and it's been very helpful to me in my business life to understand little different things in body language. If you watch Joe Biden's body language, he's like, always seems like he's not understanding what he's saying. He's programmed, or he's reading, or someone's holding up like flashcards behind him. He looks scary, if you ask me. But in any event, they rolled him out yesterday, like Weekend at Bernie's, you know what I mean? They rolled him out in front of the cameras yesterday for a video conference with the million Muslim votes. The Million Muslim Votes Summit. So this group is supposedly going to sign up 1 million new voters who are Muslims, and they're all going to vote for Joe Biden, okay? So Joe gets out there, and obviously he's forgetting a lot of things that happened on his watch in the last 43 years in the Senate, because he started talking about how important the Islamic faith is to our country and how he wants more of their thought. You know what? You be the judge. Here's Joe yesterday talking to the Million Muslim Votes Summit.
Things I think is important. I wish we taught more in our schools about the Islamic faith. I wish we talked about all the great confessional faiths. It's one of the great confessional faiths. And what people don't realize, it's one of my avocation is theology, don't realize is that we all come from the same root here in terms of our fundamental basic beliefs. And I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity, for being engaged, for committing to action this November. You're doing what's been that's never been done before. You're registering and turning out 1 million Muslim voters this November. It matters. Your voice is your vote. Your vote is your voice. Muslim Americans' voices matter to our communities, to our country, but we all know that your voice hasn't always gotten recognized or represented and or the recognition it deserves. And that's your right as a citizen.
Okay, I'm writing some notes, and in the morning, I comb through kind of different things that I want to talk about, and then I send them to Jess and Nico at like literally the last minute. But when you listen to Joe Biden, I'm not going to play the clip again. I'm going to read you a couple of things that he said. He said that Joe Biden said he wishes we taught more Islam in our schools. Now, number one, let me remind you that the Pledge of Allegiance has been banned from our schools, public schools that get federal funding. The Pledge of Allegiance is banned because it says one God, under one God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So the mere mention of one God has taken God out of our schools. In our country, I say this all the time, but our country was founded on Judeo-Christian beliefs. In God we trust is on our currency, so that's the kind of the thing behind when we give out money. In God we trust. I'm giving it to you, and our government backs it, and all this other stuff. But Joe wants more Islam. He doesn't want Christianity. He doesn't want the mention of one God in our schools. But if you're thinking about voting for Joe Biden, and by the way, if you're black and you're still thinking about whether or not you're going to vote for Joe Biden, according to him, you ain't black. That's the first thing, okay? But now he's telling the Million Muslim Voters Summit that we're going to have more Islam in our schools, okay? And maybe we should teach a little more Islam, like the blind Sheikh Rahman, going back to 1993. Here's a little shot of this winner here. In 1993, this was the first guy who tried to blow up the World Trade Center, Omar Abdel Rahman. Okay? So, but okay, he failed. He died in jail. Good for him. Okay? But let's teach a little more about Islam. It's an evocation of Joe's, and it's a confessional religion, and their voices are not heard. I believe on 9/11/2001, because I was freaking there. Okay? We heard their voices pretty well. And we learned a lot about. We should teach a lot more about this in school. Take a look at these guys. 9/11 terrorists who blew up 2 buildings in New York, killing thousands of people. Okay, let's teach a little more about that. Joe Biden. Okay, that's how their voices are heard. And then let's finish it with just a little bit more that our kids should know about the beautiful confessional religion. And you know what? I know Muslim people, they're great, okay? But let's tell it like it is. Radical Islamic terrorists have been trying to kill thousands of Americans for years, okay? And let us not forget, let's teach this in the schools, because she wants Sharia law, okay? I'm not going to say her name because Ilhan Omar. If you want to know what she thinks about radical Islamic terrorists, this is what she said about it. Some people did some things. Some people did some things. Yeah, let's teach that in the schools. Maybe that's what Joe Biden will teach in the schools. And when we took out the Major General Soleimani, the Iranian general who was causing the death of millions of Americans across the Middle East, Ilhan Omar said, we are outraged. Let's teach that in the schools too, Joe Biden. Quick break. Come back and wrap it up after this with Mark Hyman. Hey, welcome back. Just breezing through hour 2 of a Woman Wednesday edition of Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. You know, we try to get as much of the women's perspective as we can on Women Wednesday, but we do have women every day, so Don't send me your little hate notes, all you JOs out there. But you know what? Even when it's Woman Wednesday, when we get the whopper of the guy guest, we got to fit him in somewhere. And we got a great one today with all this breaking news about Roger Stone, and Stone had his sentence commuted, and that was Russian collusion. He was the middleman. Roger Stone, a great friend of mine, mentor of mine in many ways, was persecuted, not prosecuted. He was persecuted because he was a friend of Donald Trump's. He's an over-the-top, ubiquitous guy. He brings attention to himself. But at almost, 70 years old, the guy's never had a single crime alleged against him. But yet they were trying to send him to jail for 40 months. And the president is a loyal guy, and he doubles down on the people he loves. And obviously he knew that General Flynn and Roger Stone were unfairly persecuted for political reasons. But someone who knows a lot more about pardons and all of this stuff, a lot more than me, joins us right now. Mark Hyman is with us. He's the author of a tremendous book called Pardongate: How Bill and Hillary Clinton and Their Brothers Profited from Pardons. This is like a shocking expose of Clinton's pardons and commutations. There was a big big thing last week when Stone got the commutation. They were showing, only on Fox, of course, but they were showing how many pardons and commutations Obama did and Bush did, and they were like, Obama was in the thousands. Trump was at under 20. Tell us how Bill and Hillary, I call them the Clinton cartel. How did the Clinton cartel profit from all the pardons, including Mark Rich? And I know they sucked as much money as they could out of his former wife in fundraisers and stuff beforehand. But how did they profit otherwise?
Well, thanks for having me on, John. Look, executive clemency is government's official forgiveness for previous crime or crimes. And it runs a gamut. Some presidents are very generous, some are less so. And every so often there is a clemency decision, a pardon or a commutation that may have much of the public shaking their head. But when it comes to the totality of executive clemency, nothing comes close to what happened with the Clintons. Let me set it up for the audience. First of all, Bill Clinton was one of the stingiest presidents in all of history when it came to executive clemency. In his very first term, he gave away 54 executive clemency decisions. Only Thomas Jefferson, America's third president, when there were only 5 million people in the country, gave away fewer clemency decisions in his first term, 45. The U.S., during President Bill Clinton's first term, had nearly 300 million people. So he went from being really stingy, not only his first term, but his first 6 years, but he went from being the stingiest president to one of the most generous in his last 18 months. That all changed 2 weeks after Hillary Clinton announced that she was going to run for the U.S. Senate for the seat of the retiring Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan. The very first of these really awful pardons and commutations was Bill Clinton went to 16 FALN terrorists who were in prison for very lengthy terms for things like blowing up buildings, killing people, bombing all over the cities, particularly in New York and Chicago in the 1970s. And he went to them and said, by the way, you have not even requested executive clemency, but I will give you commuted sentences. All you have to do is agree not to return to violence. So why did Bill Clinton do that?
You want to know why? I'm going to give you, I didn't read your book yet, but I'm looking forward to it. But I can tell you this, we've had Joe Connor on our show many times. He's a contributor to The Hill. Joe Connor's father was one of the men who was blown up that day because he worked on Wall Street in Francis Tavern, okay? And I know that Bill Clinton specifically went to let these people out of jail when Hillary was running for Senate because he was trying to garner favor with the Latin American vote. And it's pretty disgusting when you have a guy like Joe Connor whose father was blown up, killed, taken from him when he was a kid, because he worked on Wall Street, and then you see a president actually using his power to do something like that, to let people out. And, you know, Oscar Lopez didn't even take the clemency the first time. He didn't want it. He wanted to be like, you know, the modern-day Mandela. But then ultimately Obama gave it to him anyway. And all these people come back to Bill Ayers and the Weather Underground and all this other crap. So it becomes a pretty tangled web, if you ask me.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Now, traditionally, Puerto Ricans, the Puerto Rican bloc in New York City, have tended to vote Democratic. And New York City politics is very balkanized. Remember, we talk about New York City because it's a big portion of the state's population is right there in the city. So their politics are very balkanized with different ethnic, religious, and social groups. And candidates have pandered to them in the past, but nobody has ever actually offered pardons. Now, let's set this up. Rudolph Giuliani was, at the time, the presumptive GOP nominee. In his last mayoral race, he received 43% of the Puerto Rican vote. He was very popular as Republican, and that was a huge voting bloc the Clintons wanted. So the way to defeat that was they would offer commutations to 16 FALN terrorists, 2 of whom had already been released, and as you mentioned, 2 chose not to accept it because they would not renounce violence. And then Bill gave them a month to think about it and released them. But that really started the ball rolling because after that, the brothers joined in. That's Hugh and Tony Rodham, Hillary Clinton's brothers, who started hustling pardons on behalf of other people, earning hundreds of thousands of dollars to forward their interests, their requests, their desire for clemency to Bill Clinton. And Roger Clinton was part of that as well. All 3 of those men each individually earned hundreds of thousands of dollars. As a matter of fact, it had gotten so wild in the final months of Bill Clinton's presidency that Roger Clinton was cold calling clemency applicants, offering to get them pardons in return for money. 2 points to bring out of this. One, as one of the people who received the phone call said to me, how did Roger Clinton even know that I applied? It's not public information. It's private. And 2, how on earth did he get my private cell phone number? Well, clearly, either Bill gave that information to him or someone gave it to him at Bill's direction. But Roger Clinton was calling people on private cell phones saying, this is what it's going to cost to get you a pardon. It was that wild. It was that brazen. It was that out of control. And that was for the final year and a half or so of the Clinton presidency. These weren't just people who wanted to have a professional license restored, perhaps, who, after having led a good life, followed the law after they had been convicted and served their time and simply wanted to get back to their professional business. These were some really bad dudes. Harvey Weinig was the New York City-based money launderer for the Cali drug cartel. He got a commuted sentence because 2 of his closest friends were John Podesta and Harold Ickes, the chief of staff and deputy chief of staff of Bill Clinton. Carlos Vignali is a cocaine trafficking kingpin in L.A. He was caught shipping 800 pounds of cocaine to Minnesota. He got a commuted sentence because he paid Hugh Rodham over $200,000 to represent his interests. These were really bad people that got pardons and commutations.
Mark, thank you so much. You got to go out there and check out Pardongate. If you like me and you want to get even deeper into the whole Clinton cartel and how horrible they have been to America, check out Pardongate, how Bill and Hillary Clinton and their brothers profited from pardons. Thanks so much, brother. I really appreciate having you.
Thanks for having me on.
We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and WTF you like you've never been WTF'd before. Quick break, back after this.
For more Liquid Lunch, head over to YouTube, do a search for Liquid Lunch TV, and hit that subscribe button.
It's hot outside. It's hot in here in front of all these lights. As you can see, I'm sweating. I've been having a tremendously bad hair day today. I know that, and thank you for not pointing that out. But it gets even hotter in the last segment, the WTF, What the Facts, where Jess, Nico, and I would assume any day now my own daughter will get in on the hijinks and make fun of me for the mistakes I made during today's show. And Jess is poised with her shoulders up and back, so she must have some good ones. All right, let's hear about it. Look at Ava. She got herself out of the shot for this segment, too. All right, go for it, Jess.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but this is your 3rd consecutive day without any big errors. I can't believe it. I'm sad. I really wanted to correct you on something, but I couldn't find
I didn't make
anything.
any mistakes today.
Nothing crazy.
I'm the smartest guy I know.
Wow, what are the odds? I had it teed up right to that. And for those of you who just started watching Liquid Lunch, for a year, every single day from noon to 2, I had this guy in my hand. And I took some backlash that, oh, you don't seem so objective if you're coming into the show saying you hear all points of view, but you're holding the Donald Trump pen. And I wish it was teed up right now to say to those viewers, you're fired. But it's kind of a cute pen.
Don't touch the hair.
Don't touch the hair, that's it.
I'm gonna build a wall.
He's been building a wall.
Make America great again.
We've been doing that except through COVID. I would say that. My IQ is huge. I don't know. Mine's not that huge, but all right. I think he's out of slogans now, but all right, Jess. So I'm 3 for 3 with no material mistakes in the show, which makes this segment almost moot. Because if you're not going to correct me, and then I'm not going to allow you guys to make fun of me, then the viewers at home are sitting there like, what's happening? So should I start making mistakes on purpose like I used to do for Frank, or?
I think a good way to entertain people is just point out any mistakes that we made today. If you have nothing to say.
No, well,
then
one mistake that you two made today is you don't have a spelling word prepared for me, because they have been trying to puzzle and confuse me with ridiculous words, because I was the 8th grade Staten Island spelling bee champion.
The spelling word is to redeem yourself of any errors.
Oh,
You don't.
I see. Oh.
I can't believe I'm saying this. I don't want to be saying this.
So I didn't have any errors today. Let me just repeat that for those of you.
For everyone listening at home, this is the sound of me not having any errors in today's show.
that point is now moot because that was an error. I told you to stop doing ASMR.
Stop with the ASMR. They don't want the ASMR anymore. All right, let me give you a quick update. The Dow is down $1, not 1 million, not 1 billion, one single dollar at 26,839. And Bitcoin is down $10. So both of those seem to be in some rarefied air, and I think it should hold. I think both are in quite a good position here. I'm still reserving the fact that I think there will be one significant, massive downturn in the market to clean out all this crap that the government has pumped into the market, all this artificial stimulus, all this digital money. The printing press has been running overtime down in Knoxville for quite some time now. But in any event, some good news here on COVID. If these spikes cut it out, and the more Joe Biden gets in front of the TV cameras, I think more and more people are going to start realizing, okay, Trump's going to win this thing big. So, I did point out to you recently that I think Overstock.com is on a crazy trajectory right now. That it's really, got its legs underneath it. It's got some great new cool marketing going on out there. And I'm looking for some new patio furniture. And although I still am a member of Club O, which is Overstock's club, where you get some special discounts and rewards, I'm comparing Wayfair, Etsy, Overstock, and for the most part, Overstock is either equal or better on almost everything I'm looking at. So the only place it isn't better is Wayfair is at $220. And Overstock is at $55. And Overstock over the last 5 years has actually made money, and they look quite certain, in my view, in my expert opinion, I don't know any information, like they're going to be making money again because it's run pretty well, that company, with the idea that the shareholder comes first. And when I look at Overstock at 55 and Wayfair at 220, I think they should be reversed, if you ask me. So keep your eye on Overstock, keep your eye on Bitcoin, because I think we could be at a paramount stage here where it could break into the 10,000s, establish a new support level, and then it goes higher from there as its value as an alternative asset continues to grow in the global economy. I mentioned with Joe Hagan that there's a new opportunity out there. You want 13% passive returns and liquidity anytime. Reach out to me at jt@liquidlunchtv.com. Tune in tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel, more Liquid Lunch. It's Thirsty Thursday. We'll see you there.